Good morning. Hope you all are doing well. Today is a very special declutter video. So after 4 years of sharing with you different methods to declutter my specifically fragrance collection, today I am combining everything. So everything that I've learned and share with you the ultimate, let's say, way to declutter your fragrances. I went ahead and studied all the videos that I did before on decluttering. So I practically applied every single method that I can think of. Tell me in the comments down below if there is something that I didn't try yet. So I did a KonMari method. I did by category, so fresh, ambery, vanilla, etc. I did also a very interesting one where I ranked all my fragrances from my most loved ones to my least loved ones. I also tried by if I would repurchase a fragrance or not. I did by how many times I used this fragrance. And I forgot I also did a declutter in 5 minutes. So imagining that I have only 5 minutes to get the fragrances that I want from my wardrobe because in case of fire or something like that. So I think I tried every single method there is. And in today's video, I am going to combine all these methods. So I will try every single one and tell you the advantage and disadvantage of each method. So here's what is going to happen. After studying all my previous declutters, I came out with a specific order that in my mind will be the perfect one to get rid of every single fragrance that does not serve you. I live in a very small apartment. I don't have the space and I have been struggling again, not with so much the space for my fragrances, but space for other stuff. So I need to downsize my fragrances so I have room in my closets for other things. And I will show you in a minute how my organization looks right now and all the fragrances and everything. But let me first tell you how I am going to do this video. So I will start by the 5-minute challenge video, but I'm not going to do it in 5, I'm going to do it in 4. So I will put a timer for 4 minutes where I can salvage the fragrances that I want. Then I am going to share with you the fragrances that did not make it, and then go through the advantage, disadvantage of this method and go on to the next one, which will be how much I use a fragrance and also tell you everything about it and would I recommend this kind of declutter or not. It's going to be quite a long process. I dedicated the whole day, but since it's the first time for me to do this kind of declutters, I may stop and continue on another day. So if you see me in another outfit or maybe different lighting, then you know that I didn't make it in one day. And I hope that this declutter video will help you to guide you through the best method to declutter your fragrances and also to make me feel a little bit better. I am not going to lie, I have been through a lot. I did a video previously on some personal stuff and what I'm going through in the moment. And declutters have been always a way for me to feel better in a way. I don't know why. Maybe it's about control. I don't know. Tell me in the comments down below if you have the same issue. Anyway, without further ado, let's start with the first method, and it is the 4-minute declutter challenge. Again, for any video that I'm going to mention, you will find it in the description down below. But first, let me show you how my fragrance collection looks like now. So here is all the fragrances that I have currently in my collection. This is how everything looks. It's inside my closet and it takes a lot of space. And also, as you can see, it's kind of crowded because now I am doing all the fragrances by category. So I have here freshies, I have here fresh florals divided by the notes. Here we have the gourmand section. And I think this is the ambery section. Yeah, ambery section, vanilla. Here on the top are florals that I would consider as winter florals. I have here my Chanel's, a creamy florals, and I have here my sweet fragrances, here like kind of soft fragrances, and here we have apple centered gourmand fragrances. Here it's honestly a little bit like a mix because I used some fragrances and I didn't remember how I categorized everything. Then we have what I would call beachy fragrances or vacation fragrances. I think the two Kayalis need to go there, but I'm not going to organize now since I'm going to take everything out. And in the base we have two fragrances that are for me, let's say, comforting fragrances. And here we have my Middle Eastern fragrances that I decluttered, that I don't like, and mainly they are here because I sell samples of them. So I have here all the kit for the sampling decant of these fragrances. So again, I am not going to go through these fragrances because to me they are not part of my collection. I already decluttered them. And I am so sorry if you are hearing the thunder and the rain. It has been now a week of rain and bad weather, and it's going to continue. So I just decided to film the declutter anyway today. So if you are hearing that, I am so sorry. I have 162 fragrances. Now that number is quite high, but given the fact that in all my previous declutters I never counted the travel sizes, I still find it quite refreshing that I didn't go overboard with my purchases recently, and my fragrance collection kind of remains the same since my last declutter, which I am really happy about. So without further ado, let's start with the first declutter. I'm now going to put a timer, and I have only 4 minutes to take out the fragrances that I want to keep. And I decided to put this as my first declutter because it gives you an idea of your intuition. So I am not using my mind a lot. I'm not thinking a lot because I don't have the time. So it's kind of a more intuitive way to declutter. So this is what I'm going to do now. See you after 4 minutes. So here are all the fragrances that I've saved. And here are the fragrances that I left behind. So I can see there are some fragrances that I would not declutter. Like there are definitely a lot of fragrances, but it gives you an idea of my preferences, the thing that I value the most. Now I will count them and then share with you the next step. If I would apply this method alone, I would declutter 44 fragrances and 37 travel sizes. Now, am I shocked? Absolutely not. Actually, looking at the fragrances that I've left, most of them are fragrances that are not a love, are mostly a like or a strong like. Some shocked me. I will tell you which one. Basically, there are only 2 fragrances that I was shocked that I left behind. And to be completely honest, there is one fragrance that I added at the end, mainly because it was tilted so I couldn't see it. And when I removed the fragrances, I saw that it is a fragrance that I would have absolutely picked in the 4 minutes, and it is Jean Paul Gaultier Label. So the ones that I were shocked by were the J'adore line. I picked none of them. So I have L'Or, I have L'Eau, and I also have a discontinued one, which is Enjoy, which is my favorite. I also am shocked that I didn't pick up the travel size of Born in Roma from Valentino, because I really liked that fragrance. I just don't wear it so much. So I was shocked that I left it behind, to be honest. But these are basically the only 2 fragrances that I don't understand why I left them. It served me really well doing this method, specifically now in the beginning, because I can see the categories that were left behind. So I left a lot of basically gourmand, vanilla, and freshies. Now, the freshies has a good explanation because I have a lot, like really a massive amount of fresh citrusy fragrances. But with vanilla and gourmand, it's not a surprise because I was never that girl that is obsessed with vanilla and gourmand fragrances. Actually, it's kind of specifically gourmand, it's kind of a category that I am warming up lately. So not a surprise here that these were the categories that were mainly left behind. Another thing that I noticed, and that will definitely serve you and that you definitely have to keep in mind if you apply this method, is that you will not pick functional fragrances. Functional fragrances are mainly, for me personally, fragrances that I need, but I am not necessarily in love with. Specifically, after the shower scents, which I didn't include in the declutter, by the way. Like, I counted them, so they are in the 115 fragrances, but I didn't mention that I didn't put them in the collection because I know they will not be picked up because they are never a real love for me, but they are fragrances that I can't let go of because I really need them specifically in summer. So, for example, looking at the fragrances that I picked, I didn't pick neither Flora Botanica nor the Rosa Verde, which is a category that I am lacking in my fragrance collection. So if I would apply this method, I will be left without any greenish rose scents, which I actually need and enjoy, specifically in special weather. Like I am wearing today Flora Botanica. So they may not be a love for me, but maybe I don't need two, but one of them will be good for my collection. Another one that I left behind is Dior Riviera, which is a citrusy fresh fig fragrance. Now, I am not anymore so much in love with fig, and it's not a surprise. I have another fig fragrance from Acqua di Parma. Again, I decluttered all the fig fragrances, even the travel sizes that I have, but I think I would maybe pick Dior Riviera as a fragrance that I would keep in my fragrance collection, even if I'm not totally obsessed with it. Because even if you saw my video where I combined fragrances with outfits, it actually was a fragrance that was perfect for some outfits. So it's definitely something that I would like to add to my collection. So mainly functionality is the disadvantage of this method. Consider your fragrances as your clothes. You have some white basics, neutral basic stuff that you may not absolutely love, but you definitely need in your collection to complete an outfit. The same goes with fragrances. So the main disadvantage of this method is functionality. Some fragrances you may not absolutely love, but they serve you. They are functional and you need them. Of course, you don't need fragrances in your life at all if you are on a budget, but if you are obsessed with fragrances and you love fragrances, then definitely keeping these will serve you a lot. Now, something to take in consideration, since this is the second time to do this video, definitely the way I did it before in my original video where I stopped every single minute was much better because it pushes you really to pick the ones that you really love. And I would definitely, as I said in that video, make it 4 minutes, not 5 minutes. Now, the amount of time will definitely depend on your collection, how big it is. Also, something that I've noticed in that video, I didn't end up decluttering all the fragrances that were left behind. I decluttered 15, but I noticed that all, and I mean every single fragrance that I left behind, I decluttered in future videos. That definitely says a lot. This method definitely eliminates the part of your brain where you say, oh, this is a fragrance that is a limited edition, I shouldn't declutter it, but you don't love it. Or you are a hoarder, you love to collect. This kind of declutter really makes you in tune with what you love and what you hate, which is my issue with the KonMari method, because with the KonMari method, you are taking everything out and then you pick every item in your hand and decide if it's something that sparks joy or not. Sometimes you are clouded by your mind, okay? It's not so easy to discover or to decide if something sparks joy or not. But this, for me, is a better method, specifically with a category of anything that you love, that is your hobby or your obsession. Now, I noted all the fragrances that I've left behind, and now I am going more traditional. So as I always do, I will lay all the fragrances. And then the next method will be to rank them by how much I used them. So fragrances that I did not use at all in the previous 2 years. And I chose 2 years specifically because 1 year is not enough for me, since I am not at liberty to wear the fragrances that I want, because I am testing so much also for this channel. So 2 years for me is a good indication if it's something that I definitely use or not. And then fragrances that I wear once a year, twice a year, 3 years. And of course, I am going to exclude the fragrances that are new in my collection, that I did not have the time to really test and see if I'm going to wear them frequently or not. Fragrances that are younger than 2 years are going to be excluded. And that is the method that I actually used in my last declutter. And now I am going to do just that and tell you the final result. That was quite a challenging task, because I don't have like in my mind how many times exactly did I use a fragrance. So I may be off by 1 time or 2, but it gives you an idea. In the top 2 lines here, we have recent purchases. So the recent in the sense that are fragrances that are younger than 2 years in my fragrance collection. So these will be excluded, as well as this line here, which was not a surprise. These are my most used fragrances in the last 2 years. So we have Mandarin Basilic from Guerlain. This is Spiritus Double Vanille, Chance Eau Vive, Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet, Chance Automne, Orchidée Vanille from Van Cleef & Arpels, Burberry Goddess, Atelier des Ors Blanc Polychrome, and Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, specifically summer vibes. Then we have fragrances that I used roughly 5 times in the last 2 years. Then we have fragrances that I used roughly 4 times in the last years. Then we have here fragrances that I used roughly 4 times in the last years. Then we have here fragrances that I used times in the last 2 years. So this is already like getting into a dangerous territory for me. It could be because I don't like it, and also could be because the scent profile is quite strong, or not a fragrance that you would wear on a daily basis. Now here are fragrances that I used only once, and some are quite shocking, to be honest. Actually, Vetiver de Vera I wore twice only this year, so this must go there. Ingenious Ginger from Goldfield and Bags. Actually, also this one I wore twice. So Born in Roma, the travel size is new, but the fragrance is one of my oldest. So I counted the fragrance, not the bottle. Yeah, I used it once as a travel size, sorry. This will be in the 3 times a year. Now, these are fragrances that I did not wear in the last 2 years. Now, for the life of me, I can't remember if I wore La Via di Milano, Limitless Shopping, Via della Spiga, and Supreme Bouquet in the last 2 years. I could not remember. Bake, I really can't remember again. Then we have J'adore l'eau. Frégate, I actually wore once. And oh my God, how did I do that? Last 2 years, this has only 2 years. So I definitely wore it, I think, twice or 3 times. Okay, it seems like I did some mistakes here. So we have Shalimar Millésime. I really can't remember exactly if I wore it maybe once, but it feels like I didn't wear them for the last 2 years, so I am counting it at that. So we have Bouquet Ideale, Lilac Love, Supreme Bouquet, Love Fest from Kayali, Scandal by Night, Santal Karma, Ambre Centrico, Olivier di Milano, Limitless Shopping, Via della Spiga, J'adore and Acro Bake, as well as Shalimar Millésime. And then a lot of travel sizes. I'm not going to go through them because most of these travel sizes, I can't really judge if I would declutter them or not based on this method because these I just put recently more as like a visible. Before it was like a category on its own and I never saw the fragrances and I rarely reached for them because I kind of forgot about them. So they are fragrances that I did not use in the last 2 years, but I will not count them as such. This method is definitely effective, but it's not the best indication, I would say, for which fragrances you should declutter, and I will tell you why. But let's first see how many fragrances I decluttered. So I have 11 fragrances and 27 travel sizes that are fragrances that I did not use in the last 2 years. And all of them, which is not shocking, were fragrances that I did not pick up when I did my first declutter with the 4-minute challenge. However, I went into the fragrances that I wore only once in the last 2 years, and the majority of them were fragrances that I actually picked up in the 4 minutes challenge, which indicates that not always when you have a fragrance that you don't use a lot of is a fragrance that you don't love or is a fragrance that you should declutter. But not using it at all is definitely an indication. Mainly because some fragrances are challenging, or fragrances that are mainly for a special occasion, or could be fragrances that are, we will see in the next declutters, are redundant in your fragrance collection. Maybe you have a lot of similar fragrances in the same category, and this one is your least favorite, which isn't the case of a lot of fragrances that I used only once, and also in fragrances that I used only twice, like case in point, to give you an example, the Bewitching Yasmin from Penhaligon's. This is an oud fragrance, quite potent, quite strong. I have no occasions to wear this fragrance, but I love it, love it, love it so much. So I would say if you are decluttering with this method, keep in mind the fragrances that you used only once and see if you can get them in a travel size, because I think these fragrances I will be more than happy to have in a travel size. In the previous videos that I did, which again you will find linked down below, I decluttered 30 fragrances, but mainly these were fragrances that were not in the category of fragrances that I didn't wear, but mostly were fragrances that were blind buys, that were a big fail. So fragrances that I knew that I didn't want for one reason or another, not fragrances that I did not wear in the last 2 years. I decluttered all the fragrances, I think, for exception of one that I didn't use in the last 2 years, and I have no regrets, by the way. Like, I rarely have regrets when it comes to decluttering fragrances. So from 137 fragrances that I had in the last declutter, I decluttered 30, but about 12 were from the fragrances that I used rarely. It's a very useful method to give you an idea. For example, I am shocked that I used so little of Louis Rouge in the last years, because I absolutely love this fragrance. So I definitely need to wear it more. I don't know why. Sometimes when you have so much fragrances, you tend to forget about them. And this is why I love to keep my fragrances always below 100. I'm not so successful, but I try at least, because more than 100, I would say even more than 70 is just impossible. But this is quite personal. This is my personal take, my personal opinion. So this method will not be something that I would go to in the future unless I really want to know what fragrances I am not using or I am forgetting about it. It also will help me if I need to declutter and I don't want to, because it gives me permission. Like it says to me, you are not using this fragrance, where are you keeping it? So it's kind of a push. You know what I mean? So these are the advantage and disadvantage of this method. And before going through the next one, I have also to mention that this method is not very successful, will not serve you a lot if you have a small collection. This is a method that will serve you, that will help you if you have a lot of fragrances. I would say over 50 or maybe even over 40 fragrances. This is something that you can apply and you will see results. Now, let's get to the third method, my third declutter. And it will be a very emotionally challenging declutter, specifically if you love fragrances like I do. And it is ranking my fragrances from my most loved ones to my least favorite ones. Trust me, I did it before and it was quite difficult. But I will do exactly like I did last time, so when I applied this method, and I will not go by my most loved ones and the second, the third. No, I will group them in tens. I found that much easier to just put a group of my top 10 than the next 10. So top 20, top 30, 40, 50, and so on. This will be much easier because also some fragrances you can't decide which one you love most. They are totally different. They just evoke in you maybe different emotions. So it's just for me pointless to have like a ranking like 1, 2, 3. But with 10, I feel it will give you a good idea. And I have also to mention that the ranking by love will dramatically change from one, for me at least, from 1 month to another, from a season to another. So it's constantly changing, but it gives you an idea, because if you have so much and these are your least favorites, that says a lot. And since it's a very difficult declutter, I'll go and have lunch and we'll relax a little bit and then come back and show you. So I had to change rooms because it was too cold in the other room, and also the lighting was really bad. It's like dark outside. So I moved everything here. Let me show you. So here we have the fragrances. I tried as much as I can to already organize them, and now I am going to lay them on this bed in order of my preferences. So from my most loved fragrance to my least loved fragrance. So here is the final result. That was very difficult, and I did even worse than the last time when I did my declutter with this method. So at the end I decided to group them by 15, not by 10. That was then quite easy when I did that. So let me walk you through my first 15s. Coco Chanel Eau de Parfum, Guerlain Mandarin Basilic, Chanel Chance au Tendre, Eau Vive, Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet, Blanc Polychrome from Atelier des Ors, Louis Rouge, Levant, Gabriel Low, La Danza delle Libellule, Oagen, Light Blue, The Bewitching Yasmin, and Changing Constant. These are very predictable. These are fragrances that I've talked about many times, so no surprise here. Now moving on to the next 15, which I would say are also quite predictable. Then we have, I'm not going to tell you all as the rest, but here I will show you to have an idea of how the rest looks like. A big surprise is of course this one. Oh, Musk Noir Rose fell very low now, and yeah, quite surprising, I have to say. Now we are in the last fragrances from number 91 till 105 till 120, and I would say the last two rows are the ones that are definitely on the chopping block. These fragrances are not hated, and as you can see, the last ones have a lot of travel sizes, mainly because these are travel sizes that I did to test fragrances. So I just put them in my collection to use them, because some of them are actually discontinued, but as you can see, I don't enjoy them, but I don't hate them. The one that I can't say I hate is only this one, Anna Abiad Rouge from lot of this one should be like a dupe of Baccarat Rouge. I can't stand this fragrance. Very, very bad. So definitely, whatever it is, this fragrance, I know I am going to declutter because I actually hate it. Now, let's move on to the last 30 and tell you what do we have here. So we have Café Chantant, fanno bene 1942, Pistacchio from l'Herbolario, J'adore l'eau, Eden Rock. This is Dansant from Diptyque. Not a surprise because I'm not a tuberose lover. Floral Seed Sunflower Pop, Acro Rise, Jimmy Choo Forever, Love by Kilian. Big surprise. Pure Musk Absolute. I will talk about it in a moment. Then we have L'Interdit Rouge Ultime, Fashionably London, Fico di Amalfi. This is Sicily Itzia La Nuit, Cagliari Capri in a bottle. Then we have Victoria, L'Interdit Eau de Parfum. This is Miss Dior, the previous formulation. We have Kenzo Elixir, a discontinued fragrance. La Libella from Memo. Big surprise because it's a very recent purchase, but I seem like I don't like the fragrance anymore. This is Dolce & Gabbana Devotion Intense, Dior Addict, Killian Boys, Dior Absolutely Blooming, L'Interdit Eau de Toilette. This is Poison Girl, Good Girl Gone Bad. We have here Itzia, J'adore Absolu, Hypnotic Poison, Ongerla Blooming, which I think is discontinued, Nettare di Sole, and at the end, this one. So definitely these 34 fragrances, I would say, will be comfortably on the chopping block. And honestly, looking at them, even if some have sentimental reasons, I can comfortably declutter them. And I can also, to be honest, comfortably declutter some of this line here. 3 or 4, I would say. Okay, I am absolutely tired. As I said, this is a very emotionally draining process. So, would I recommend this declutter? It's kind of a declutter that you would use not to declutter, but more to see your preferences, how they shift during the years. Like, I'm a little bit shocked at my ranking. It's like sometimes you don't realize it, especially when you have a big collection, how much your taste shifts and changes. And there are some definitely big shocks for me. Mainly, Narciso Rodriguez seems to be down for me. Pure Musk Absolute. I can't tell you how many times this was on my wish list. And when I got it, I did a big mistake, which is the lesson you should definitely learn. When you love a fragrance and you search for it and it wasn't like easy to find and all of that, don't save it. Please use it. I used it sparingly because I know that this is a gem. Like, you can't find it anymore. And now I don't like it anymore. I could have used it and enjoyed it more. So, big lesson here. If you are like me, don't do it. Next, we have another Narciso Musc Noir Rose. The thing is that I don't like how strong this fragrance became. Actually, it's also the case with Pure Musk. Both of these fragrances suddenly are becoming too strong for my liking. I don't know if it's like my taste is changing. I know that they become very strong with time. Narciso Rodriguez fragrances do that. But it's just like shocking for me. Or is it that my nose changed because I have now new sensitivities that I didn't have before? So definitely this process is very revealing. I can see how my taste is shifting. Some of the fragrances that were in my top 10s went down in my loves. Like, let's say, Jasmine's Marzipan, still a very loved fragrance. But now it's not in my top 10 anymore. Same goes with Malakit. Spiritus Doble Vanille is still high, but it was much higher before. And if you look at my tops, top fragrances. It's not anymore fresh citrusy fragrances as it is fresh floral, which was always a competitor. But I feel like now, since I am getting into more on, I don't know, more of my feminine side, I am also dressing more feminine. I like more feminine fragrances. Anyway, I don't know if it's a phase or what, but I don't like edgy fragrances anymore. I like more feminine fragrances. And also I noticed that although I try to love gourmand, it's just a category that doesn't work for me. Case in point, this one. I actually really liked it and I thought along before getting it. And now when I smell it, oh my God. No, I don't know what I was thinking, really. So I have to stop trying to love gourmands because it's not working for me. Returning to the fragrances that I decluttered. If I did a declutter, I will do the last row. And these are 9 fragrances, but 24 travel sizes. This is a lot of travel sizes. And I know I would declutter more from the other rows if I want to, but this is just to show you how doing this method, how my fragrance collection would look, which fragrances would I declutter. This method, as I said, would definitely be for you for future purchases. Like, I definitely recommend for you to go through this process if you have a big collection. If you have a small collection, you don't need it. But if you have a big collection, I think do it maybe once every 3-4 years. I would definitely recommend. It gives you an idea of what you love, what you hate, which makes you a more savvy buyer in the future, and you will think about what you are getting. And it definitely works as a declutter method, but it's too emotionally exhausting. So it would not be my preferred way of decluttering if I would recommend one. So definitely very revealing if you want to know your preferences and fragrances, but it's too much of a work if you want just to declutter and that's it. Now let's get to the next method, which will be to divide the fragrances by category. So fresh, citrusy, it depends on your collection. For me personally, it would be like fresh citrusy, musky and molecular fragrances, fresh florals, and maybe even, because this is a category that I have a lot of, if I noticed like a lot of fresh rose scents, I will pair them together, and fresh jasmine fragrances together. It depends on your collection, but this is what I would do. Ambery fragrances, spicy fragrances. Like, I can't do spicy fragrances in reality because I don't have a lot, but for someone who loves spicy fragrances, maybe it will be better for you to distinguish between ambery and spicy fragrances, or even balsamic fragrances, which is something that I don't believe that I own any of. This is a great way to declutter if you have a lot of very, very similar fragrances. Because sometimes when you have so much fragrances, you kind of don't see that you have a lot in the same vibe, and you are so similar, you don't need all of them. And this way will reveal to you any duplicates, which they are not duplicates, but I would say fragrances that will be redundant to have in your collection. But there is a disclaimer here, and again, it's very personal. I am a fresh citrusy and fresh floral lover. I know this is my category. This is the part where I have the most fragrances. It would be not a surprise if, even if there are some fragrances that have the same vibe, serves the same purpose and everything, I would want to keep all of them. And that will be different for everyone. Everyone has his or her preferences. I hope I am making sense here. So I don't believe that I will be able to do that now. I am definitely too tired. And in order to reorganize everything by category and then film like the result, it will be way too late and I will be too tired. And I want to have a fresh mind when I do my declutter. So I will film the other 2 declutters tomorrow. So you will see me in another outfit. Good morning. Everything is as I left yesterday. Now I am going to do my fourth type of declutter. And this will be by category, as I said. So let me speed you through the process and tell you at the end the final results. So here is the final result after dividing everything. Let me walk you through all the categories. So starting from here, we have fresh fragrances, which takes the whole line. As you can see, this is my favorite category of fragrance since hands down. It was the citrusy fragrances in the past. It's still one of my favorites, but florals in general are my thing. So let's start with this part here, which I would consider fresh rose or fresh peony fragrances, followed by neroli and orange blossom fragrances. Then we have here jasmine. This was the biggest category when it comes to fresh florals or florals in general. Now, as you can see, it's quite downsized. Here we have 3 osmanthus fragrances and 1 fresh tuberose. Tuberose is not my jam. Now this line here, which takes all of that, are florals, but I would not categorize them exactly as fresh. So some are like true floral fragrances. They are more of a true representation of a flower. They are a little bit on the fresh side, but not totally. Then we have more of fruity florals. We have then more of very, very sweet, have more of vanillic sweet florals, creamy florals. And then we have what I would consider winter florals. Of course, creamy florals would also go with winter florals. But when I say winter florals, I mean florals that have maybe an ambery base. They are more thick, more dense, not specifically creamy. And then we have only 2 musky fragrances. I can't believe that from the regular line from Narciso Rodriguez, I am left only with 2 fragrances. Insane. Let's move on to what I would say are citrusy, fresh fragrances. These are true summer fragrances. We have the only tea scent that I have, which is Bohemian tea, that is fresh. I have another one that is more gourmand. Then we have Eau Vive. 3 types of mandarin fragrances, oranges. We have fresh, like a concoction of notes here. We have bergamot. Then we have here lime. We have molecular, vetiver, myrtle, and 3 fig fragrances. And I have here an ingenious ginger. These are, I would say, more very fruity fragrances. They are fresh, they are very, very fresh. They are predominantly fruity fragrances. Again, not a category that I have a lot of. Tropical fragrance is not my jam. Scent profiles that I'm not really in love with. I don't appreciate much of tropical fragrances. Now, here we have a lot of vanilla. And it's quite shocking to have so many vanilla fragrances, since I'm not your typical influencer who loves gourmand and vanilla, but I do enjoy it when it's done right. And I divided them by simple vanillas, spicy vanillas, and the rest I just put at the end, couldn't categorize them. Now I have gourmands. Quite a lot for someone who doesn't really enjoy gourmands. We have 2 almond fragrances. We have some more of sticky dates. I could put them also in sweet fragrances, on ambery fragrances. Like I struggled a little bit with Angel Share and its dupe. Then we have sweet lemon tart kind of fragrances here. The only candy-like fragrance that I have is Yum Marshmallow. And then we have this peach pie fragrance, which is Peach's Revenge from Sarah Baker. Cherry fragrances like cherry pie kind of fragrances, pistachio, the only pistachio fragrance that I have, and 2 fragrances that I would consider like Christmas bakery fragrances, and at the end tea gourmand scent. Then let's move on to what I consider more ambery dark winter fragrances. I have here true amber, then more spicy ambery fragrances. Here I have woody fragrances. Then we have smoky, more on the masculine side fragrances. Now let's move on to what I would consider sweet fragrances. So they are not true gourmand. They have something from every category. So I would just categorize them as sweet fragrances, but not to the point to be a gourmand. And these fragrances I could not really categorize as anything. Like Siwa would be an ambery fragrance, but it doesn't really fit. Like, I couldn't really put these in a specific category. Now, the idea is to go through the fragrances and tell you if some are redundant to have like all of them in my fragrance collection. And as I mentioned before, when it comes specifically to the categories that you love most, some fragrances, you will definitely find fragrances that are redundant because you love the scent profile. But that doesn't mean that you will declutter fragrances that give you the same vibe, the same feeling. And that is the case for me with these 5 fragrances. Are predominantly rose scents with a little bit maybe of other floral notes, but mostly rose. It's pink, it's plush, quite girly and spring-like. Specifically, these 3 are definitely fragrances that I would use interchangeably. So we have Chance, Chanel Eau Tendre Eau de Toilette, Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet, and the newest Bouquet d'Angourie that I added recently. Do I need all 3 of the fragrances? No, absolutely not. And I am not going to declutter any of these, just to be clear, mainly because sometimes I gravitate toward one over another. Like, for example, I believe last year it was Chance Eau Tendre that I used a lot. The year before it was Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet, while this year I used Bouquet d'Angourie. Like, it was between these 2. So every year I use one over another. I don't know, I can't tell you why. I feel like this is a little bit more fruity, this is true floral, this is a little bit musky. So it depends on the mood and everything. But all these 5 fragrances where I can wear interchangeably, practically. The same goes for Flora Botanica and Rosa Verde from Acqua Liguria from Guerlain. 2 very rose-centered fragrances that are on the green side. Do I need both of them? No. But since Flora Botanica is discontinued, I'm keeping both. But if Flora Botanica wasn't discontinued, I would have decluttered Rosa Verde. Moving on to Orange Blossom and Neroli fragrances. This is a new category, a new love for me. Orange Blossom was never like something that I enjoy so much. Mystic Bouquet is actually a dupe of Fleur Narcotique, which I have only a decant of, or a travel size. Do I need both of them? No, but since this is a decant, I'm not going to declutter any. Now, for this category in particular, for the exception of Fleur Narcotique and Mystic Bouquet, I can't find any redundance in these fragrances. They are totally different. Yes, they belong to the same category, but they are different fragrances. When it comes to jasmine, now the 2 that I would say are redundant are these 2 that are very similar. One has more of Lily of the Valley note, which makes it special, while this one is a tea scent mixed with jasmine. Although you can see they are different, but they give me the same vibe. Do I need both of them? No. Will I declutter any of them? No. Again, we are talking about the category that I love. Now, when it comes to Osmanthus, these are totally 3 different fragrances. So again, nothing. To be honest, Donson from Diptyque, I would declutter. I'm just not in love with tuberose. And if I do choose a tuberose fragrance, it would be more of a creamy one, which I have actually here, Supreme Bouquet. Now, looking at, I would call the true florals, I really can't find anything truly redundant except of Valentino, 2 Valentino fragrances. Valentino Donna Born in Roma and Valentino Acqua, Donna Acqua. But since again, Valentino Donna Acqua is discontinued, I'm not going to declutter it. Now, again, these 2 give me the same vibe, give me the same effect. And I already did a review on the new Chance Eau Splendide. It wasn't like totally a love for me. I like it. So this is a fragrance that I actually would declutter. So this is the first one. Oh my god. And moving on to the sweet fragrances, also 9am from Afnam. I have these that are a little bit on the sweet side, the Valentino ones, so I don't need it. Also, the same goes for this Jimmy Choo and Love by Killian. They are not my vibe. I would not really wear them. Same goes also for L'Interdit. It's tuberose, mainly tuberose fragrances. They are true tuberose fragrances. I just don't like it. So, yeah, I would declutter them. Now, the creamy florals, they are totally different, in my opinion. But I have to say, I'm kind of regretting buying Supreme Bouquet. It's just the tuberose is just not my note. I am trying to love it, but it's just not working. Now, for what I would call winter fragrances, winter florals, nothing here that I would say are redundant, but it seems like I'm not enjoying powdery fragrances. So Café Chantant and Lilac Love. Lilac Love has more of like a gourmand scent. So most probably I will declutter one of them and it will be Café Chantant. Let me tell you the shocker. I am going to declutter both of these fragrances. They are too musky. I used to love the category of musky fragrances. I'm actually considering buying the original both of Pure Musk and of Musk Rose. So these two I will put in a maybe pile to retest alongside their original and decide, will I get the original and declutter these, or would I just abandon the whole line? And that is crazy just to think about it. Now, when it comes to freshies, the redundance goes into mandarin, which is one of my favorite notes. Do I need 3? No, but they are different enough. This is with basil, so it's a little bit more, let's say, aromatic. This one is a true mandarin. This is very soft, very musky. Again, also with the Arancha, I have 2, like orange. I'm not enjoying Orange Prégarade, so I would declutter Orange Prégarade. Also, I don't need 2 Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. I would declutter the new Capri in Love. I love summer vibes. If you can get your hands on that one, this is the best flanker ever created from this line. Bergamot, I have 2. I would say none of them are redundant. While with Chance or Fresh, I have the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum. Definitely would declutter the Eau de Parfum. I prefer the freshness, the lightness of the original one. Now here, as I said, we have the figs. That would be not a category that I enjoy much of, so I would declutter Arizona Bloom. Although I enjoy it, but I never gravitate toward it, so even if it's in a travel side, I don't use it, as well as Fico di Amalfi, and just keep Dior Riviera. For 2 fruity fragrances, I'm keeping both. Now let's move on to what I would consider tropicals. I would declutter Nettare de Sole because I prefer, when it comes to fresh tropical fragrances, Beso de Sol. Now these 3 are redundant. I would pick one of them. I can tell you now, I have to resmell them, but most probably it will be Maldives in a bottle. Moving on to vanilla. Definitely I can declutter here. Specifically, I don't need Spiritus Double Vanille and Encore un Fois. They are very similar, but as I said before, Encore un Fois was very similar in the sample to Spiritus Double Vanille. When I got the fragrance, it was a little bit different. The issue with vanilla is that you need to leave it for maturation. So this is what I am doing. So I think one of them will eventually be decluttered, but not now. I need to leave this now till winter, let's say, until I can decide if it's better or equal or whatever compared to Spiritus Double Vanille. Also, I don't need both of Allende, to be honest, and Escapade Gourmand. They have the same, they are not similar fragrances, but they give me the same effect. So this very sweet, bakery, cozy sense. Which one would I declutter? That is a very difficult question, and I can't decide. So I am keeping them both. When it comes to spicy vanilla, these are totally different. I would say I would pick either Sea Intense or Alien Goddess, and I think I would declutter Sea Intense. Now, moving on to gourmands. I don't need these two fragrances. Now, they are not similar, but they have this very airy, soft, almondy touch. I would go for Sharaf Oud Tonka. I prefer this one to House of Oud because I just can't get the smell. It's ridiculous. Also, when it comes to Angel's Share and its dupe, I would go for the original one. Now, I absolutely love the dupe, but it's not a scent profile that I need two of them. So I am keeping both, using both, until maybe in the future, since I would get Kilian Angel's Share. But it's so expensive, so I don't know if I will definitely get it. When it comes to bakery, sweet, lemon tart kind of fragrances, definitely Acro is for me. These two are going to be decluttered. Keeping the Yum Marshmallow fragrance because it's the only candy fragrance that I have, as well as Peach Revenge. When it comes to Lost Cherry and Kayali Love Fest, in theory, I would declutter Kayali Love Fest. I love Lost Cherry more, but since Tom Ford Lost Cherry is so expensive, and I'm trying now for years to get a good deal on Lost Cherry and couldn't find one that would entice me, would push me to get the fragrance, I'm keeping both. Pistachio from L'Herbolario, I would declutter. I don't like nutty fragrances as much. Panettone and Janie, I would keep both. Definitely keeping Winter Paris. This is a standout in my collection, something that I don't have anything similar to. Here we have the 4, let's say, true ambery fragrances. These two are similar. I would not have both of them. But since Amber Eccentrico is set to be discontinued, I'm not sure yet, I am keeping both. And for the exception of these two, the rest is different. Now going for what I would call spicy fragrances, I would declutter none of these. These are standouts. It is, however, similar to Changing Constance, but it is different enough to have both of them. Because Changing Constance has issues with performance that is making me nuts. Woody fragrances, I would keep all of them. They are different. I would declutter La Libila. It's not my jam. I've never worn it, not even once since I got it, I think. Maybe once. So, don't need it. Smoky unisex fragrances. I think I can declutter Smoking Hot. But Tobacco Vanille and Noir Extrême, I would keep. Now, moving on to sweet fragrances. These are very similar, but I can't declutter any of them because I love them both. If they are finished, would I repurchase them? Yes, but I can't decide which one of them. It's insane. I love they are too similar, but yet have differences to the point that makes it quite difficult for me to decide. It's the same case like with Chanel Chance Au Tendre and Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet. It's also here. Since these three have this apple note, I would say I would declutter Limitless Shopping Via de la Spiga. Definitely keeping Changing Constance, one of my absolute favorite fragrances. While here, 100% would declutter Devotion Intense. This is just not my scent profile. And as you can see, and these are not similar fragrances, so we'll keep all of them. Here I will just declutter these. And keep, of course, Siwa, which is one of my favorite fragrances. I'm back. I did my counting. And if I would apply this method specifically for redundance in my collection, I would declutter 23 fragrances, from which are 11 full size. The rest are travel sizes and decants. While if I go and in theory, declutter redundant fragrances in my collection, regardless if I'm going to keep it or not. Like, as I said, I spoke about the Chance Au Tendre and Blooming Bouquet. I would not declutter any of these, but if I am totally objective, I also counted the fragrances that would be redundant if I rigorously apply the method, and I ended up with other 13 fragrances, from which 8 are full size. That's a lot, actually. That means that I have a lot of redundancy in my fragrance collection, which is fine. I am totally okay with it. But it gives me a perspective to maybe specifically if we speak about fresh rose scents, not go overboard and buy another one. Just saying. However, it's not the only reason, as you saw, that I would keep a fragrance. Sometimes it's because the other option is discontinued. So once I finish that bottle, I will definitely use the other fragrance. Sometimes it's because the other fragrance I have in a travel size, so I would definitely use it up, like for example Slogan Narcotique and its dupe Mystic Bouquet. So it's not only that I love the scent profile, this is why I am keeping them. Now this is a method that I would apply if you have tried other methods, like you tried the others and you just can't arrive to the amount of fragrances that you want to declutter. This is a very good method because it gives you perspective on how many fragrances are similar, and maybe that will make you declutter more. I also would consider it a good option for those who have not a very big collection. So I would say I am the limit when it comes to this method. If you have more than 150 fragrances, let's say, it can be quite daring, quite challenging to apply it unless you take it as a last step. So you decluttered some using other method or just like that, and you feel like still you need to declutter more, you feel like it's not satisfying. In this case, definitely this method, and also the one where you can rank the fragrances from the most loved to the least favorite. But I would not consider them as a good method, unless you have a small collection again, as a primary or the first step into decluttering. And if you are curious, when I did this declutter 2 years ago, I had 146 fragrances and I decluttered 30. But these 30 include fragrances that I decluttered regardless if they are redundant or not. Now let's get to the last method and the last step, let's say. And it is decluttering by would I repurchase a fragrance or not. This is quite a ruthless method, let me tell you, right from the start. Now, I will consider all fragrances that I would repurchase, but maybe in a small size, as fragrances to keep. But I will take notice of the fragrances that I wanted more in a travel size, already can't, and put it on a list. Some I can get them maybe from a decant service or as a travel size, even from the official website of the fragrance house. My goal would be to declutter the full bottle and then get the travel size. But that means also that I like the scent. So it's a keeper, but just in a different format. So I will consider it as not to declutter. So it is a repurchase. So now I am going to reorganize again my whole fragrance collection, but it will be much easier because I am going just to share with you what would I repurchase and which fragrances I would not. So this was the quickest ever declutter I did after the 4-minute challenge. These are the fragrances that I would not repurchase, and let me tell you, some of them are quite shocking. For example, Arancia di Capri, Myrto di Panarea, Bouquet d'Hongrie. I can't even imagine. Maybe because it is redundant? I don't know. I think I love the musk in Chance au Tendre more than the one in Bouquet d'Hongrie. Anyway, so let me walk you through the fragrances. The 2 musk fragrances from Narciso Rodriguez, as I said, I need to try their original version. Shocking. Supreme Bouquet, which I actually really liked. I wouldn't even buy in a travel size. Can you imagine that? Then we have Sharaf Blend, mainly because if I would repurchase, I would repurchase the original Angel's Share. If I have the money, of course. If not, I would go with this one. So ideally, I would go with the original one. Then we have Café Chantin, Ana Abiad Rouge, of course, the Kayali Capri in bottle, as well as Victoria from Latafa. We have then Nettare de Sole in a decant, Acro Rise, both Maui in a bottle and Maldives in a bottle. That says a lot, actually. We have Devotion Intense, Limitless Shopping Via della Spiga. We have Kayali Boys and Hypnotic Poison, Dansons Femme de Petite, Lovas Mates from Atelier Colo, shocking. Not so shocking is Belfiore from Oman Luxury, because I love the fragrance that I've tested at Exxon's, and this is just not it. It's not transforming on my skin creamy as there. I know it's wrong. Eden Rock was on the chopping block before. I would definitely go and declutter it. And Wanderlust, I would say, is redundant. For Jasmine is not my favorite note anymore. Low, I decluttered, like I decided to declutter many times before, but I decided to finish it as a bed scent. We have Monger La Bloom, and this is Fashionably London. Miss Dior, I would declutter these. Then we have Bouquet Hongrie. Rosa Verde from Guerlain, I am putting here just because as a scent profile, I would prefer Flora Botanica. I would repurchase that fragrance if it was not discontinued. So it's theoretical declutter, let's say, when it comes to this fragrance. Shockingly, I would even declutter Noir Extreme as a decant. La Libella, as I said, it's not my scent profile. Smoking Hot, it's too masculine for me. Almond Harmony from the House of Woods, it's just too light. I am not getting anything. It's a gorgeous scent, but it needs to be slightly more intense. Not by much, but slightly. Arancia di Capri, big shock here. This was one of my absolute favorite fragrances of all time. Fico d'Amalfi, not a surprise. I am not into figs anymore, but it is one of the best fig fragrances. We have Sea Intense, Myrto di Panarea. We have Goldfield and Bags, Bohemian Lime, Floral Street, Arizona Bloom. The cherry flower fragrance from L'Occitane, the new flanker Capri in Love. We have Alien Goddess, yes, shockingly. Chanel Chance, Eau Fraiche, the Eau de Parfum, and Floral Street, Sunflower Pop, Orange Brigade, Gris Dior, what a surprise. But I know why. It's just too mossy, too chypre for my liking. I don't like chypre anymore. It's actually the only chypre fragrance that I have left in my collection. Eau Splendide was never like a love for me. All L'Interdits, Good Girl Gone Bad, J'adore Absolu, Love by Killian, 9 a.m. from Athnain, Jimmy Choo, I Want You Forever. These two I would declutter because I prefer Valentino Born in Roma to these, and even Ansam Gold. I would, let's say, wear them at the same occasion. And the rest of the fragrances would be a repurchase, but some of them, actually many of them, would be more in a travel size. That was quite a long declutter, but I really needed to put to the test every single method, like one after another, to find the perfect one. But before going to that, let's start with how many fragrances did I declutter with this method. I decluttered 28 fragrances, full bottles, and 25 travel sizes. That's a lot. And it is the perfect declutter method because it combines the intuition if you love a fragrance or not. Because if you will not repurchase a fragrance, most probably you don't really like it. Or you don't like it enough, let's say. If you even don't consider a travel size. So it's very helpful. So it kind of combines without the hassle the method where I ranked my fragrances. And if we exclude the 4-minute challenge, this is overall the most amount of fragrances that I decluttered in all the methods. Like, this is a lot of fragrances. Now, looking at the fragrances, will I actually declutter all of them? No. I'm so sorry. Majority, let's say. 95% I would say are fragrances that I would declutter. And to be completely honest, looking at the fragrances that I would keep are either fragrances that are discontinued, so I kind of find it hard to declutter, although it's ridiculous, I should, or fragrances that are kind of expensive and I would lose a lot of money, which is, again, not a good argument to make to keep a fragrance. Because if you don't like it, you should give it to someone who actually enjoys this fragrance. And this is the perfect method to get a quick declutter. Definitely. You don't have to do like I did and lay everything down and then go through the fragrances. With this method, actually, you can keep the fragrances in their place. So like the 4-minute method, and just go through them and pick out the fragrances that you would not repurchase. So it's a very, very quick, efficient way to declutter. And this method, I would say, is the winner. This, I would say, is the perfect method if you want to declutter your fragrance collection. If you have small or big collection, it's the quickest, the most efficient. It is suitable for everyone. So either you have a big collection or you have a small collection, it doesn't matter because it works for everyone. So So this is definitely the winner. And if you are wondering which of the declutters that I did in the past was the most, let's say, was the most successful one, it was the KonMari method. I decluttered more than 50 fragrances with that time when I did the KonMari method. But I have to mention that that was after having the most obnoxious hauls you can ever imagine on my channel. I went like for a year on like buying almost every single fragrance that I just smelled and just liked. I ended up decluttering majority of them. So it was not a surprise that I decluttered a lot because I was like in this craze of buying. So it's not like the method was the real reason why it was so successful. Actually, the KonMari method, I did not try to do this time because the KonMari method as a whole is something that I would definitely recommend if you want to start over. Your wardrobe looks like crazy, your house is out of control. It's very efficient, very, very efficient. It's hard, very hard. I don't know if I have a footage of the first time that I applied the KonMari method on my clothes. It was humongous. It was piles and piles of clothes. So I got rid of almost 90% of my stuff with that method. It was very difficult. I can't lie, extremely difficult. Did I regret some stuff that I decluttered? Definitely, because with the KonMari method, you are decluttering also some very efficient items and you don't realize it until you did it. Like for example, basic stuff for clothes, also in the kitchen. And she says that you try to love the basic stuff that you need. No, it's not very, very practical, let's say, but it's a very practical way if you want to start over. It will change your life. It will. It definitely changed my life. That is for sure. And it got me into the habit of decluttering, and I have now more organized house. It's not ideal still. It's not perfection as I would love to, but it definitely made a huge difference in that and also in what I want to buy and not. And I am definitely thinking more about the stuff that I want to buy in any category. Before I was just a big consumer, let's say, and mostly the stuff, if you are not thinking about what you are buying, you will end up not really liking. So I'm kind of more of a savvy consumer now, and it is not a method that I would recommend or something that you are passionate about, like fragrances. So if you have a specific area of your life which you are passionate about, it doesn't work very well, let's say. Now, which method would I apply in my next videos, next declutters? I would definitely try to find something new. I love to experiment. It's just something that I love to do. But if I can't, because honestly, I am now struggling to find a new method. So if you have any method that you applied specifically for fragrances that works for you, and I didn't mention it, please tell me in the comments down below. I will love to try it for my next declutter. I think I would combine two methods. I would combine the 4-minute declutter. Maybe I will make more of 3 minutes. And then go through the fragrances that are left and apply the repurchase or not criteria. So I am not overwhelmed. I think this will be the ideal declutter. Tell me if you would love to see a video on that in the future. As I said, this doesn't mean that I don't like the other methods. Actually, I would apply them once every 2-3 years just to get an idea about how my tastes and preferences shift. and maybe get rid of some redundant stuff. But since I declutter mainly twice a year, it's just not the preferred method, let's say. Now, you may wonder, what are the fragrances that you ended up decluttering? For that, I am going to dedicate another video, because otherwise this one will be too long. Actually, if you watched till now, thank you so much for watching. That was quite an endeavor, and I'm so happy that you are here with me during this process. I hope also that this video was helpful or you enjoyed it. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think and what method do you use in your declutters? Very, very curious about that. So I can't wait to see your comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumb up. That will help me really a lot. And don't forget, if you loved this one, I will leave all the previous videos of my declutters in the description down below. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time. Ciao.